Skinwalker Ranch, the most scientifically studied paranormal hotspot on Earth. Strange lights, cattle mutilations, phenomena that defies explanation. Brandon Fugal owns it. Dr. Travis Taylor investigates it. In 2024, ground-penetrating radar revealed something hidden beneath the mesa, a sealed cave, deliberately closed from the inside. When they finally broke through, what they found disturbed everyone. 15 skeletons arranged in a circle, symbols covering every wall, a bottomless hole in the center. And the moment they opened it, everything on the ranch changed. Phenomena exploded. Team members got sick. Some refused to go back inside. The Ute tribe warned for generations this place should never be opened. They were right, because what's happening now is worse than anything in the ranch's history. This is what scientists found in the sealed cave, and what it unleashed. Skinwalker Ranch sits on 512 acres in Utah's Uinta Basin, and for generations, it's been known as a place where the impossible happens regularly. The Ute tribe has warned about this land for centuries, calling it the Path of the Skinwalker, a forbidden zone where evil spirits dwell and shapeshifters roam. Indigenous people avoided the area entirely, passing down stories of cursed ground where reality itself breaks down. The ranch entered modern awareness in 1994 when the Sherman family purchased the property with dreams of cattle farming. Those dreams turned into nightmares almost immediately. They experienced phenomena that shouldn't exist. Cattle were mutilated with surgical precision, organs removed cleanly with no blood at the scene. UFOs appeared regularly over the property, performing maneuvers that defied physics. Creatures were seen that seemed bulletproof, absorbing rifle shots without effect. Objects appeared and disappeared. Poltergeist activity plagued their home. After 2 years of terror, the Shermans sold the ranch and never spoke publicly about what they experienced. In 1996, billionaire aerospace entrepreneur Robert Bigelow purchased the property and funded extensive scientific research. He created the National Institute for Discovery Science and stationed PhD scientists on the ranch 24/7. They documented hundreds of anomalous events over 2 decades. Bigelow spent millions trying to understand the phenomena, but most of the research remained classified. In 2016, he sold the ranch to Brandon Fugal. Brandon Fugal is a Utah real estate mogul and technology investor who purchased Skinwalker Ranch for $4.5 million with a clear mission: apply rigorous science to paranormal claims and share the findings transparently. He partnered with the History Channel to document everything in the series The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. He brought in Dr. Travis Taylor as chief scientist, an aerospace engineer and astrophysicist with multiple PhDs who has worked for the Department of Defense and NASA. Dr. Taylor's approach is simple. If it can be measured, it can be understood. Over the years, the documented phenomena have been extensive and disturbing. Radiation spikes in specific locations, GPS and electronic equipment failures, electromagnetic anomalies, cattle deaths with no explanation, orbs and light phenomena captured on camera, invisible forces affecting people physically. The mesa, a large elevated plateau on the property, has consistently been the site of the most intense activity. Native warnings specifically mentioned the mesa as off-limits. Animals refused to go near certain areas. Even before the cave discovery, it was avoided by those who knew the ranch's history. But in 2024, ground-penetrating radar revealed that the mesa was hiding something far more disturbing than anyone imagined. In the spring of 2024, Dr. Travis Taylor's team was conducting routine geophysical surveys of the mesa using ground-penetrating radar. They were looking for underground water sources or natural voids, standard protocol for understanding the property's subsurface. Multiple passes were made over the mesa, with data being recorded continuously. Then the anomaly appeared on their screens. The scans revealed a large void space beneath the mesa, approximately 40 feet below the surface. But this wasn't a natural cave formation. The void was far too regular, with geometric patterns that suggested intentional excavation. The size was estimated at over 30 feet in multiple directions, and the shape didn't match any known cave systems in the area. Dr. Taylor was initially skeptical, thinking the equipment might be malfunctioning, but repeated scans confirmed the anomaly was real. Brandon Fugal immediately called a team meeting. The excitement was palpable, but so was the apprehension. They consulted historical geological surveys of the area. There were no records of any excavation on the property, no mining claims, no operations of any kind. The geological surveys showed no natural caves in this location. This chamber shouldn't exist. Brandon Fugal reached out to Ute tribal elders, asking about the mesa's history. The response was immediate and unsettling. The elders confirmed knowledge of what they called the sealed place. Their ancestors had sealed it many generations ago. It contained something that should not walk, they said. Opening it would let the darkness spread. Some team members dismissed the warnings as superstition. Others were deeply unsettled. The team deployed additional scanning technology, magnetometry, resistivity surveys, seismic reflection, LiDAR scans, and thermal imaging all confirmed the void's existence. The scans also revealed something else, a collapsed opening at the base of the mesa's cliff face. It had been deliberately filled with rocks and soil. This wasn't a natural cave-in, but an intentional closure. Once the vegetation was cleared, stonework became visible. The stones had been placed with clear purpose, fitted together precisely. Brandon Fugal authorized careful excavation despite the warnings. Dr. Taylor insisted on strict safety protocols. Environmental monitoring equipment was staged around the site. Medical personnel were put on standby. Documentation cameras were positioned everywhere. The team was divided on whether they should proceed. Scientific curiosity battled against respect for ancient warnings, but the decision was made. They would open the sealed cave. The only question remaining was what they would find inside, and whether the Ute elders' warnings would prove true. Excavation began in June 2024, with a small team assembled for the initial work. Brandon Fugal and Dr. Travis Taylor were both present, along with security personnel stationed around the perimeter. Cameras recorded from multiple angles. Radiation detectors and air monitors were active. Atmospheric sensors measured everything. There was a palpable sense of unease among the crew from the moment work began. The stones were removed carefully, one by one, each cataloged and photographed. The stonework was remarkable. The stones fit together precisely with no mortar, expertly stacked by hands that knew exactly what they were doing. The age of the placement was impossible to determine, but the vegetation growth suggested the seal had been in place for centuries. The work proceeded slower than anticipated because of the care required. Strange occurrences began almost immediately. Equipment malfunctions increased dramatically. Batteries drained inexplicably fast, sometimes dying in minutes. Compass needles spun erratically. Team members reported severe headaches that wouldn't respond to medication. The feeling of being watched intensified. Animals on the property became extremely agitated. Ravens began gathering in unusual numbers near the excavation site, watching silently from the cliff edges. Late one afternoon, the final stones were removed. A dark opening was revealed, leading into the mesa. Cold air rushed out forcefully, carrying the smell of damp earth and something else, something metallic and wrong. The radiation detector spiked briefly, causing everyone to step back instinctively. They waited for the air to stabilize before attempting entry. Dr. Taylor volunteered to go first, with Brandon Fugal insisting on joining him. 2 security personnel followed. They donned full safety gear, oxygen monitors, communication headsets, and helmet-mounted cameras. The moment they crossed the threshold, the temperature dropped 15 degrees. The air quality readings were normal, but something felt fundamentally wrong about the atmosphere. Their flashlight beams revealed worked stone walls, not a natural cave, but a deliberately carved tunnel. The walls showed clear tool marks. The ceiling was carved in a dome shape. The floor was relatively level and clear of debris. The tunnel extended approximately 30 feet before opening into a larger chamber. Electromagnetic readings were fluctuating wildly, instruments registering impossible data. Near the entrance, strange symbols were carved into the stone, geometric patterns and curved lines that didn't match Ute script or any known native writing system. Some resembled petroglyphs found elsewhere on the ranch, but others were completely unfamiliar. Everything was photographed extensively. The team moved slowly deeper into the tunnel, communication with the surface crew maintained. The sense of dread was increasing with every step. Then their lights hit the main chamber, and they saw what had been waiting in the darkness for centuries. The main chamber was roughly circular, approximately 40 feet in diameter with a domed ceiling reaching 12 feet at its highest point. This was not a natural cave. Every surface showed evidence of deliberate excavation. The walls had been carved with precision. The floor was covered in thick dust and sediment. Multiple alcoves had been cut into the walls at regular intervals, and scattered throughout the chamber were the skeletal remains of at least 15 human beings. The bodies were positioned in a disturbing arrangement. They formed a rough circle, all facing toward the center of the chamber. Some were in the wall alcoves. Others lay on the floor where they had fallen. The positions suggested these people had died here, not been buried after death. Several appeared to have their hands bound. Skulls showed signs of severe trauma. Some remains showed evidence of fire, with charring visible on bones and walls. The scene suggested ritual violence or mass execution. Dr. Travis Taylor's immediate assessment was chilling. "This is not a burial chamber," he said. "These people died violently. The age of the remains was uncertain without proper testing, but the preservation was unusual for the environment. Some skeletons were nearly complete while others were fragmented. Documentation began immediately. Every detail photographed and recorded. Objects were scattered among the remains. Stone tools and implements, carved bone fragments, metal objects corroded beyond recognition, pottery shards with disturbing designs, what appeared to be ceremonial items arranged deliberately around the bodies. Everything suggested a ritualistic purpose that no one could fully understand. The walls were completely covered in symbols. The ceiling, too, was heavily marked with carvings, geometric shapes intertwined with figures, humanoid forms with animal features, creatures that didn't match any known animal. The symbols repeated in complex patterns across every surface, as if the entire chamber was meant to convey a message or serve a specific purpose. In the exact center of the chamber stood a stone platform, circular and approximately 6 feet across. Its surface was worn smooth from extensive use. Dark staining covered the platform that could be ancient blood. Channels had been carved into the surface, all leading to a hole in the center. The hole was approximately 2 feet in diameter. When they shined flashlights into it, the beams disappeared into darkness. They dropped stones into the opening. No sound of impact ever returned. The air rising from the hole felt wrong. The temperature differential was extreme. Electromagnetic readings spiked dramatically near it. Team members reported feeling compelled to look into it, drawn by something they couldn't explain. Brandon Fugal ordered no one to approach the platform. Near the entrance, 2 sets of remains were positioned differently from the others. Their bones were reaching toward the sealed opening, hands extended as if they had tried desperately to escape. These bodies appeared newer than the others. They had died after the cave was sealed, trapped inside deliberately, left to die in complete darkness. The first night after the cave was opened, nearly every team member experienced vivid nightmares. What made it more disturbing was that multiple people reported the same images in their dreams. Visions of figures standing in the cave, shadows moving in the darkness. The sense of being watched became overwhelming. Security cameras positioned around the ranch captured unexplained movements near the mesa. Lights appeared that hadn't been seen before. The ranch experienced more anomalous activity in that single night than it had in the previous month combined. Physical effects on the team began immediately. Dr. Travis Taylor developed a severe headache that lasted 3 days despite medication. Other team members reported identical symptoms. Nausea and vertigo became common complaints. Unexplained skin rashes appeared on some personnel. Bruising manifested on arms and legs without any memory of injury. Medical examinations found nothing wrong, yet the symptoms persisted. Equipment failures escalated to unprecedented levels. Electronics near the cave entrance died constantly. Cameras failed within minutes of being positioned. Batteries that should have lasted hours drained in seconds. GPS systems showed impossible readings, placing the ranch in locations thousands of miles away. Communication equipment experienced constant interference. Even backup systems were affected. Some equipment was permanently damaged beyond repair. The phenomena across the entire ranch intensified dramatically. UFO sightings tripled in frequency. Events that previously occurred only at night now happened in broad daylight. Orbs appeared nightly over the mesa, captured on multiple camera systems. Electromagnetic anomalies were detected everywhere. Radiation spikes occurred in multiple locations simultaneously. The cattle became extremely agitated, refusing to graze near the mesa. Dogs wouldn't approach the area at all. Wildlife abandoned the entire section of the property. One senior researcher, an experienced investigator not easily frightened, demanded reassignment after just 2 trips into the cave. He claimed to hear voices in the chamber when no one else was speaking. He said something had followed him out of the cave and into his home. He reported seeing a shadow figure standing in his bedroom at night. Within a week, he left Skinwalker Ranch entirely and refused to discuss what he'd experienced. Brandon Fugal found himself torn between scientific curiosity and genuine concern for his team's safety. He consulted with experts nationwide, debating whether the cave should be resealed immediately. The documentary crew was capturing everything, and he was acutely aware of how the public might react to what they'd found. Dr. Travis Taylor maintained his scientific approach, insisting that the phenomena could be explained through rigorous study. He brought in additional monitoring equipment and increased sensor coverage across the property. But privately, even he admitted to feeling profound unease. "Something changed when we opened that cave," he told Brandon Fugal, "and whatever changed wasn't changing back." A forensic anthropologist was brought to the site to examine the skeletal remains, The bones were carefully removed for detailed analysis. Age estimation placed them between 150 and 300 years old. Though the range was unusually broad due to preservation anomalies, the remains represented a mix of male and female individuals, ranging from children to elderly adults. Trauma was evident on most of the skeletons, with causes of death varying across multiple factors. The injuries were deeply disturbing. Blunt force trauma had shattered skulls. Broken bones showed defensive wounds. Arms raised to ward off attacks. Some remains showed evidence of burning, charred in ways that suggested they were alive when the fire touched them. Cuts consistent with stone tools marked several bones. The pattern suggested ritual violence rather than warfare. Most horrifying was evidence of cannibalism on some of the bones, cut marks and breakage consistent with deliberate consumption of human flesh. DNA analysis was sent to multiple laboratories. The results came back incomplete and confusing. The DNA was degraded far beyond what the age of the remains should produce. Contamination from unknown sources appeared in every sample. Some samples showed genetic markers that the labs flagged as impossible, anomalies that shouldn't exist in human DNA. The laboratories requested resampling, certain there had been errors. The second round of tests produced the same inexplicable results. Linguists and anthropologists analyzed the symbols carved throughout the chamber. No match was found to any known writing system. Some similarities existed to ancient petroglyphs found worldwide, and the geometric patterns suggested possible astronomical alignments, but the meanings remained completely unknown. Several researchers who studied the symbols refused to continue their work. They claimed the carvings gave them nightmares and feelings of dread they couldn't shake. The central stone platform was tested for biological material. Results confirmed the presence of human blood from multiple individuals deposited over an extended period of time. Chemical analysis revealed other substances mixed with the blood, including possible hallucinogenic compounds. The platform had been used repeatedly for ritual purposes that remained unclear. The bottomless hole presented the most confounding mystery. Attempts to measure its depth all failed. A laser range finder returned no signal. A weighted line was lowered 200 feet without finding bottom. The geology of the area suggested such a deep shaft shouldn't exist. A camera was lowered into the darkness, but the video feed became increasingly distorted after 50 feet, showing static and impossible images before the camera was retrieved damaged and unusable. Radiation and electromagnetic readings in the chamber fluctuated dramatically, spiking without pattern or warning. Dr. Travis Taylor noted that the patterns seemed to pulse at regular intervals, as if the cave itself was breathing. Brandon Fugal requested a formal consultation with Ute tribal elders following the cave's opening. The elders agreed to visit the site but refused to enter the cave itself. They stood at the entrance, spoke prayers in their native language, and confirmed that this was indeed the sealed place their ancestors had warned about for generations. The stories passed down through oral tradition were true. The elders explained the Skinwalker legend, emphasizing it was not metaphor but literal belief. Skinwalkers were witches who gained dark powers through forbidden acts. They could shapeshift into animals and committed terrible crimes to acquire these abilities. They were outcasts who practiced rituals the tribe had banned. Eventually, the Skinwalkers were hunted by tribal warriors. This cave became their final refuge. According to the elders, the Skinwalkers had gathered in this place to conduct ceremonies involving human sacrifice. They were attempting to open a doorway, a portal to what the Ute called the Dark World. The tribal elders of that era decided the practices had to end permanently. Warriors surrounded the cave while medicine men performed protective rituals. Those trapped inside begged to be released. The tribe ignored their pleas and sealed the entrance with sacred stones, leaving them to die in complete darkness. The sealing was intentional entombment. The belief was that sealing the cave would trap the Skinwalkers' evil spirits inside, preventing them from ever influencing the world again. The warnings were passed down through every generation. The path of the Skinwalker must stay closed forever. The elders reacted with deep concern and visible anger when they learned the seal had been broken. They felt it showed profound disrespect for sacred boundaries that had been maintained for centuries. They predicted severe consequences. The strange phenomena would increase dramatically. The darkness would spread beyond the cave. The ranch would become far more dangerous than it had ever been. They offered to perform a new sealing ceremony using traditional methods. Brandon Fugal responded respectfully to their concerns but remained committed to the scientific investigation. He promised to proceed carefully and agreed to consult with the elders on all major decisions regarding the cave. The elders reluctantly accepted this compromise, but their final words were ominous. "You will see what we warned you about." They left sacred tobacco at the cave entrance as protection and refused to return to Skinwalker Ranch. Within days, their predictions began coming true in ways that terrified even the most skeptical members of the team. The phenomena on Skinwalker Ranch increased by over 300% following the cave's opening. Events that previously occurred only at night now happened during broad daylight. The intensity and frequency both escalated dramatically. The correlation between opening the cave and the surge in activity was undeniable, and the scientific team documented everything. Cattle were found dead with the same surgical precision that had plagued the ranch for decades. Internal organs were removed cleanly with no blood at the scene. No tracks or evidence of predators existed anywhere near the bodies. Security cameras positioned to watch the herds showed absolutely nothing during the times the deaths occurred. The mutilations happened within direct view of the mesa, following the same pattern that had terrorized the Sherman family 30 years earlier. Orbs began appearing nightly over the mesa, captured on multiple camera systems simultaneously. They performed maneuvers that violated known physics, accelerating instantly and changing direction without slowing. Larger craft were witnessed by the entire team on several occasions. Dr. Travis Taylor stated on camera, "We are observing technology that is beyond our current understanding." The government was contacted but provided no response. Team members reported disturbing experiences with time distortion. Hours would pass that felt like only minutes. People discovered memory gaps during investigations, unable to account for periods of missing time. Team members found themselves in locations they had no memory of walking to. Equipment registered impossible data that contradicted what observers remembered witnessing. Security footage showed events that nobody on the team could recall happening. Multiple team members reported encounters with the same entity, a tall humanoid figure with proportions that seemed fundamentally wrong. It was seen repeatedly near the cave entrance after dark. The figure would disappear instantly when approached. Infrared cameras occasionally captured it, but the heat signature was inconsistent with any living being. The descriptions matched exactly what previous ranch owners had reported over the decades. Brandon Fugal ensured everything was recorded and cataloged. Hundreds of hours of footage accumulated. Data from dozens of sensor arrays was analyzed by computer systems looking for patterns. Correlations emerged clearly linking the cave to surface events, but no satisfactory explanation existed for what was happening. Dr. Travis Taylor's perspective evolved dramatically. The scientist who had arrived as a skeptic now admitted publicly, "This challenges everything we understand about physics and reality. Conventional science cannot explain our observations." He began considering theories he would have dismissed before, including interdimensional hypotheses and possible connections between human consciousness and the phenomena. "We may have opened something we don't understand," he confessed to Brandon Fugal privately, "and I don't know if we can close it again."